Hello everyone, and welcome back to a brand new video of Fox Flicks on Josh Scorcher. Today we're continuing on in the top 10 blank bosses series with the top 10 demon bosses. Let's hop in and see which demons scored this list. Probably a very short intro because look at the length of the video. Or maybe they just kind of forgot to put in the audio for this. I mean, my computer ain't mute, like, now it is, now it's not. And, like, even the audio is actually maxed. It's strange. It's weirdly quiet.
Now bring me my finest
Here we go.
demons!
Some say there's no such thing as pure evil.
Well,
except for reality shows, video game companies,
successful
corrupt
now, I
businesses, and YouTube influencers. And
Oh,
yet
come
these
on, we're not
twisted beings from
demons.
the other world pride themselves
To
on being the
some.
living embodiments of evil and chaos. They don't even have to be high on the hellish food chain. They just relish in the misery they cause and the fear
They
they
are
instill in
demons.
anyone in their wake. And since it's the season of horrors yet again,
No, the
what better
Inca
time of
demon.
year to give the demonic bosses their props? First, I want to clarify one major rule for this list. This is about demon bosses, not devil bosses. And yes, there is a difference. Do they want to
What's the
be on
difference?
top, or do they want to destroy everything they can? Do they want the power to be the best, to be able to do whatever the heck they want, and what they want is to hurt everything they can? The way D&D describes
Okay.
them, devils are lawful evil, demons are chaotic evil. With devils, there are
Okay, I think I can
rules, a
understand that.
structure, a sort of carefully cultivated engine of suffering. With demons, they're just wanton destruction incarnate. No
Okay.
rules, no bargaining, just hate and death for its own sake. But what
Yeah, I can
really
understand that.
defines a demonic character? Well, for one, it really helps that the game refers to them as a devil or demon, but your average demons
does
are
help.
defined thusly. 1. They're evil spirits that tempt someone to evil or corrupt something good. 2. They're found living or born in some sort of spiritual underworld or otherworld.
Some
3.
hell.
Descending from multiple cultures, especially from Judeo-Christian definitions. I know a lot of times yokai is translated to demon, but honestly, yokai feels similar to fae rather than demons.
Yeah,
4.
yokai
If they are
on-
possessing a creature,
They're just
that
ghosts,
counts.
spirits.
5. How well do they capture that unholy or desecrating feel? Like, this thing is evil, cunning, corrupting, and extremely dangerous.
Exactly like
6.
Demise.
How much do they feel like the ultimate evil as opposed to the ultimate good? How well do they capture that unholy,
Wait, is that a
ultimate evil
Hellboy
atmosphere, as well as
video
the
game?
flavor of non-discriminatory destruction?
Huh.
7.
sound
Motivation.
like that
What gets
existed.
them out of the 9 circles in the morning? 8. Specifically avoiding the Eldritch or Lovecraftian. They have a very specific
Yeah.
occult feel contrary to the
have
corrupt
to.
divine
Oop.
of the demons and devils.
Hold on, folks. Looks like it needs to load a little bit. We'll be back in a moment. It's been a few minutes. Let's try.
Though rest assured, we are planning separate lists for the Eldritch and Devil bosses.
I have a
9.
feeling it's not gonna
How
make it
much
too
damage do they actually do? Barring that, how
Well,
much could they have done?
put it to
Scale
auto.
matters.
See what happens.
Wrap all that together and how much
So,
fun the
y'all know.
actual fight is, and you've got
Sorry
our
about
top
quality
10
drop.
demonic bosses.
Ooh, that's cool. Yeah, I believe that's called the Cyber Demon.
In the DLC for Dark Souls, Artorias of the Abyss, you travel back in time.
Whoa,
One of the
what
first
the
bosses you
hell?
encounter here is Artorias himself. But why is Artorias evil? From what we learned in the story, Artorias was a brave and heroic knight.
Like
Well,
most
it was
people.
thanks to Manus, father of the Abyss. The Abyss
boy.
is a plane of existence of pure nothingness that threatens to devour the entire world. Said Abyss
Sounds
existing
evil.
is one of the reasons that the first flame needs to be lit, making Manus the one who was more or less behind everything. In terms of story
I mean,
category,
I guess that
Manus
makes
definitely
all the
nails the
sense.
criteria. He corrupted a hero. He looks terrifying. He's one of the biggest sources of evil in the story. Heck,
Man, the
he
quality
even
dropped.
has 6,666 HP. Yeah, okay, that's a
Damn.
lot on the nose. As a
Come on,
boss, though,
close.
Manus isn't too impressive. Given everything you
Yep, look
went
at that.
through to
Already
get
dropped
to
in
him,
half.
it's the
God.
typical game of just dodging and attacking when he recovers. He does start using magic in his second phase, but
oh well.
you can just use
Drop the
pendant
quality
to
for
deflect
the
them.
video.
And if that's
Gonna
too
happen.
complicated for you, you can just cheese him with Dark Bead.
Oh, so that's
Oh.
why Dark Souls
That's
fans always
cool.
complained about there being an easy mode. It already existed.
Alright, on to number 9.
Since the beginning of time, two primordial beings lay dormant within the Earth's core.
Okay.
One was the incarnation of light, appropriately named
Wait.
Light Gaia, also known as Chip. The other
Sonic?
being a monster of pure darkness, simply known as Dark Gaia. As light sought the safety and well-being of all life on Earth, Dark desired nothing less than total destruction to all. Thus, the
Sonic
two must remain
Unleashed.
bound together in the center
Really?
of the Earth, forever opposing one another, and thus bringing
Okay.
balance to
Whatever.
the planet.
Until a certain hard-boiled idiot decides to try and wake up the monstrous beastie and basically tear the planet apart. And what did Eggman plan to use all that demonic power for?
A family-oriented fun park.
He unleashed a world-ending demon for
Why?
a theme park?
Why?
Reminds me.
He changed the planet for one? Sonic Colors, remember? You call him Bill Cipher or something?
Hey, Beelzebub. Yeah, you have some
Beelzebub.
nugs on your way home?
Many will recall, if you're not
Huh.
sick about hearing about the Blue Hedgehog by now, that I named Dark Gaia from Sonic Unleashed one of the franchise's best boss fights, and I still stand by that. For the
Yeah, I guess
Wii
it has
PS2
moments.
version anyway. The PS3 and Xbox version is mostly just roaming, dashing, and a whole lot of not really fighting anything at all. But here, it feels like a cinematic brawl of the ages. Dark
I mean, it
Gaia
kind
and
of
the
is,
mechanized Gaia
from what we
Colossus
can see.
duking it out fist to tentacles. Sonic running for his life to literally blind the Savage Beast and finally take on an upgraded, even more ferocious, perfect Dark Gaia, culminating
lot of
into
eyes.
one last climactic duel to the death. Obviously, there's
look at all
so
those
much to
eyes.
love about Dark Gaia's boss fight. But why is he so low on this list? Yes, Dark Gaia's ultimate plan was to destroy the Earth, and the mere act of him waking up caused the Earth to start breaking apart. But
Yep.
what did he really do at the end of the day?
Well,
He
it
got his
was,
ass handed to him.
really scary and big. Yeah, it was really scary and big. Real big. Did I say it was scary?
Yeah,
Shut up,
that's
Turbo
pretty
Thunder,
much
get
the
out of here.
extent
You're
of
worthless.
Dark Gaia's rampage. He looked scary and fought Sonic. When you really think about it, Eggman was the one who caused the most damage. He drained the Chaos Emeralds, he woke
Yep.
Dark Gaia up, he jumped through hoops playing this whole global domination scheme.
Look at that.
All for a stupid theme park. That isn't to say Dark Gaia didn't cause serious
Why
damage
a
or have a
theme
horrifying
park?
influence. Far from it.
doesn't make sense.
Being so close to him during his awakening caused Sonic to develop his werehog abilities. Several of the townsfolk ended up possessed by Dark Gaia's negative energy, which either turned them evil or depressed at night. And the most heinous crime of all, he turned half of what was actually a fairly decent game into a poor man's beat 'em up.
Oh, that I'm not entirely sure that Eggman isn't the real demon here.
All joking
give it to
aside,
them
while
both.
he himself doesn't do much, you can feel the dread that his mere presence brings to those around him, and even how damaging his arrival was, which counts for a lot in our eyes.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of a lot. We're back from the break. Number 8.
Yeah, we actually did it. We put the same boss on 2 boss lists in a row.
Okay, I may or may not have planned this. Don't worry, it
Josh?
isn't Fatalis for the 3rd time. I think. Okay, yeah. Just making sure. Double check.
Okay.
But it is a demonic dragon from another popular monster hunting / catching franchise.
Giratina.
Hey, I did say that Giratina
Pokemon.
was more demonic than draconic, so it makes sense for Pokemon Satan to appear here once more. Honestly,
Nice.
the Vola fight really is the stuff of wonder. you have this mysterious merchant who appears throughout the game, and you can guess real quick that he's Cynthia's ancestor. Yeah,
I
even
mean,
has
yeah,
some
the hell
Pokemon from
freaking gives it
Cynthia's
away.
team with that Togepi of his. But even with that, you can tell he was more sus than an Among Us imposter who runs out of a room with a dead body. So when he does show his true colors, you may not have been
he has the final
that
plate.
surprised, but you were definitely hyped as heck. Volo's team itself will give you its own version of hell, though it's only the appetizer for
boy.
the Ghost Dragon. Not only is he much stronger than any legendary you fought, bringing in those legendaries you caught just prior is a trap. He is built to wipe out every one of them, including the Diamond and Pearl duo. Maybe if you got Darkrai
that
from
makes
using
sense.
the Brilliant Diamond Shiny Pearl save data, though you better keep raising and training any Pokemon you bring anyways. See Dragon Bosses for a full breakdown of the fight because it is the stuff of legends.
understanding.
Eat your heart out, Necrozma. Now, what exactly is Giratina's motivation
Oh, boy.
here? Well, easy. He wants to get to Arceus. Both him and Volo shared that desire. To that end, they ripped open the giant space-time rift in the sky, all
They
to try
caused
and
it?
bring Pokegod to them. Too bad for them, since Arceus chose your player character as the one to
Arceus
actually
did it
meet
to
him.
test
Volo
us.
doesn't take this well and leaves, never to be seen again. As for Giratina, you meet him one more time in the Turnback Cave. He's passive here, not showing the blunt rage he had when you fought him at the Spear Pillar. He allows you to catch him. It's only after that
that's
you learn from Leventon that Giratina chose to protect Hisui after losing to you. While Giratina and Volo's actions caused the conflict in the
That's
game, and he is 100% the best
peaceful,
fight in the game,
I guess.
the reason he is here is he loses a lot of the destructive force he showed earlier. Explains why he doesn't do much in the later games in the timeline. Sure, we have Platinum, but Cyrus was the one antagonizing him. Shows him, right?
Yeah, Cyrus pretty much got devoured by the demon dragon of gravity. Here we go, number
Alright,
7.
next I want to talk about Diablo. Dude!
Holy crap.
It's kind of hard to talk about the
Well,
Diablo
talk about
franchise
Diablo,
without
sorts.
having
I
to
mean,
think
Diablo
about the
2.
show that is Diablo Immortal. Gee, I can't help but ponder why, Blizzard. Fortunately, we're here to talk about a good title from the series, Diablo 2. More specifically, we're
I've never
discussing
played
the
any
final
of the
boss
Diablos.
of Chapter 4, the Lord of Terror himself, Diablo. Our titular
okay,
Diablo
that's
is the
cool.
youngest of the prime evils and arguably the most powerful and conniving. He was slain in the original game by Aiden, but then, in his infinite wisdom, Aiden jammed the only thing containing Diablo into his skull, thinking that his will was strong enough
What?
to contain the demon.
Oh my god, you're an
And-
idiot. So he revived Diablo because he thought he could overpower it.
Fools! Man cannot trust willpower alone! Why do you think they invented the summer and winter sales?
In a really tragic twist of fate, the one who ended the
Wait,
Lord
what
of
was he
Terror in
getting
the
at?
original game
I missed
became
the
his
joke.
new vessel, with the ultimate end goal of ruling over both heaven and hell. Now his is
Oh,
a slower
man.
campaign to
How
destroy
could
the
you?
world, so it feels as if he's not as powerful as others higher on the list. So that may knock him off a few points, but
Not even death can save you from me.
that does
Okay, that's
little to
cool.
take away from his presence. First, you must go through at least 3 mini-bosses and their minions before taking Diablo
Bits.
on. He is arguably the hardest boss in the game. The fact that his arrival manages to kill
Oh, boy.
any leftover monsters is proof enough that you may be in for a fun time.
No
Part
doubt
of the
about
challenge
that.
is how many varied attacks he's got. Claw swipes, charging, rings of fire, ice-tipped claws, fire,
Ice
fire,
claws?
and red lightning.
Yeah, I know
Luckily,
that
he's got a
guy.
tell for that one, so it's easy to
I mean, I
dodge.
don't
Even
know
more
him.
fortunately,
I've just
he
seen his
stays
videos
confined
as
to the
well.
area, so you can briefly step out if you need to. It's all a matter of watching yourself and having the right gear to protect yourself, and you'll hopefully make it out alive. You may win the battle today, but there's always that dreaded feeling that Diablo can and will return. Most likely using
yeah.
another civilian as a vessel. The fact that he was able to corrupt the original hero and use him as a tool for his revenge paints a clear picture of the horrors the
I mean,
Lord of
blame
Terror
the original
is
hero
capable
because
of.
he was the one that jammed the crystal of Diablo into his frickin' skull. We're back. Number 6.
Our next segment is Goma.
You call?
Yes.
Oh man.
Not that one. I mean the magma dwelling one.
Ah.
It's weird that there's two.
The Goma are
two?
manifestations of evil emerging from Gaia's core to feed on all life it comes across.
Oh,
Mostly
okay. I
humans.
think I know what
Its
you're talking
existence
about now.
would later be revealed to specifically serve the Creator as deliberate harbingers of demise. So in that case, these monsters
So
are
does Wrath.
demons by class, which traces all the way up to their progenitor, Vlitra Goma. Vlitra is an
Whoa.
absolutely massive fissure on the planet,
Look at the
spawning
thing, it's a
hordes
face.
of Goma every several thousand years. The deities made it their life's work to harvest humanity's prayers, garnering all the power they can to purge Vlitra for good. Of course, our resident bag puncher came in like,
Move your plan! Watch me waste all that hard work and solve your problems by being angry!
and thus Asura and his chum
That's
Yasha
funny.
jump into Vlitra's core and confront the big bad in his molten flesh. Hauling in its
Cool.
own massive sets of arms,
Look at
Vlitra
that.
throws heavy
Damn,
punches and
that's actually
slashes at the
awesome.
bros, but is no short of its own supply of geokinetics. It shoots flames, boulders, spires of magma, and even
Nice.
fires lasers from its arms. The fight is as much of a
Motherfucking lasers,
spectacle as a
man.
lot of other bosses in the game. But what really makes this fight is that we get to see Asura and Yasha's teamwork come full circle. After all the time
Finally.
these two were forced to butt heads and got caught up by Deus for ganging up on him, seeing the two finally let out their dual combo on this absolute beast of an end boss is super cathartic.
About time.
Admittedly, though, Vlitra doesn't have much of a character to speak of. It's just a force of nature made to be defeated as a test by Chakravartin to find a successor. So
Oh.
while it is a demon, it's more like a high-end general than an ultimate evil. One that gave us some Fist of
true.
Fury, sure, but the top 5's got much more to offer.
Wait, is that the boss that is main game, but then there was the secret final boss that was A-locked?
Alright, time for the obligatory Monster Hunter entry. Okay, there can't be something that demonic. I mean, sure, we've got a Plague Dragon and, the Vampire Dragon, but surely there can't be something that weird, right?
Demon Dragon?
Okay, it doesn't look that bad.
Oh!
Weird mouth, weird mouth!
Are we sure this is an Elder Dragon or some Eldritch Horror? Well, looks like it's
I
both.
like it.
Meet Gazmagorm, the final boss of Monster Hunter Rise's expansion, Sunbreak. Throughout the game, you
Okay,
end up
that's
chasing after the
cool.
vampire dragon Malzeno and the parasitic organisms on its body, the Curio. Well, even after killing Malzeno, the Curio appeared to still
That's
be
good.
kicking. In the Gathering of the Curio quest, you see the aftermath of their rampage on the
wow.
Citadel, where every endemic life and small monster are either gone or dead.
Damn.
No music plays. You find super strong monsters like
Empty.
Zinogre and Garangolm just as a corpse. At the end of the quest,
Damn.
you see the
kinda
reason
crazy.
behind all of this. The Archdemon of the Abyss. Everything that happens from here just escalates. You get a cutscene
Like
where
how
you
so?
see the Admiral just launch 3 Dragonators into this beast. And he's still up. The fight begins from here. You dive
Oh,
into
boy.
its own abyss, and you see how freaking huge this thing is. Time to
Yeah,
attack the
it is
arms,
kinda
as doing
big.
so will break the gems on its back. Which are crystallized parasites, by the way. What the fuck?
Crystallized
Despite how huge he is, he moves pretty
parasites?
well, so it's
What?
hard to keep up with some of the better weak points. In this
This is
first phase, he
something.
throws his arms at you and causes explosions with them. At one point, you're able to
Nice.
use the Dragonator symbol, which will rain Dragonators from up high straight onto him,
Okay,
allowing you to attack
good,
the head for a
good.
bit. You know when the first phase ends when we get a cutscene and see the big devil get absolutely wrecked by a large Dragonator
direct
and then
hits.
explodes on its head. That was just phase 1. We still got plenty to go. After diving even
Still
further,
alive.
the crystals on his back become flames and he turns even more demonic. I mean, I say
Okay, that's kind of
flames, but
cool.
those are just the energy of the Curio emanating from its back. He becomes much more aggressive, flailing his arms around, causing giant explosions, and what I can only describe
This
as
is
an
a nice
exploding
dragon beast.
blood beam. During this phase, he may start climbing a nearby wall to reach the amalgamation of Curio higher up. At this point, you get
Nice.
a rotating ballista sent to you, and you need to work together to destroy the weak points on its back to send it flying down. Or else, he nukes ya!
Oh,
After enough
damn.
damage, he will enter phase 3, where its entire body becomes inflamed from the power of the
Okay,
Curia.
that is
His
awesome.
flame attacks become more devastating, and he starts using more demonic attacks, like summoning an army of Eyes of Sauron? I don't know.
Oh,
Attack
well,
looks
that's
awesome.
interesting.
Oh, and the giant sun that launches even more suns down at you. What is even this
This is
fight?
overkill.
Don't worry, there
the
is a point where he
dragon.
tries to climb the wall again, but this time you don't get machine gun turrets to help you. So your NPC
Great.
partner Fiorane decides to just jump above the bastard and strike him straight down into the ground. Proof of the hero plays as you
Okay,
lay the final
wow.
smackdown on this fearsome foe. Keep it up and you prove that the archdemon should have stayed in the abyss. There's a reason why people consider
And
this
he's
fight to be
dead.
one of the best final bosses in recent memory for the series. It just keeps escalating in scale as you descend into
I
the
mean,
abyss. Its Curia
yes.
pets are still around too, as they evolve to act on their own and are the post-game mechanic too. While the lack
Oh,
of
that
major
maybe
screen
ain't
time
good.
is what puts him here, the absolute insanity of the fight shows why Monster Hunter is
The
still
Petacytes
one of
all
the
free.
kings of
That's-
boss fights.
Probably not good. Well, I have to say, that was crazy just for number 5. Now on to number 4. What's next?
Gauntlet Dark Legacy, still to this day my all-time favorite game. Everything I love
So
in a game
bad
topped off
quality.
with decent graphics, smart puzzles,
But such a
polished
good
gameplay,
load
and some of the
the
fondest
video.
memories for me. I mean, who didn't get a sense of pride when they finally defeated Scorn, the Lord of the Underworld himself?
I
After
never
the evil
played
mage
that game.
Garm brought Scorn
Sorry.
into the mortal realm, he tried and failed to control the demon, as Scorn bows to no one. Instead, he swats Garm like the insect he is and unleashes
Ow.
his entire legion of minions upon the world, quickening his ultimate takeover. To
Oh,
end his
boy.
reign of terror, our heroes have to traverse through the desecrated temple and do battle with him, not once, but twice. First, you must
Oh,
face him
that's
in the
something.
Altar of Scorn, where he ascends from a pit of fire in gold-plated armor.
Nice.
Okay, the asterisk aside, this one is pretty straightforward. Just don't get too close, try to avoid getting hit by his spells. It's a little harder than it
Makes
looks,
sense.
and let him have it. Being in the high 80s is
Yeah, from a
definitely
distance.
recommended because he does not mess around. But then, after you beat him here, you get first dibs at his armor. Better not waste any time because it won't last long. Of course,
Won't-
what kind of world would we live in if that
last
was
long?
all
You
you
mean
had
it
to do?
despawns
Now
fast?
you must confront
Damn.
the Dark One himself on his turf. the
Oh, now that's
Underworld.
something.
The good news is that without his armor, he's much easier to kill. The
Makes
bad news
sense.
is that also makes him twice as dangerous, as his attacks do a lot more damage, especially the
That's,
fire ray. But if you can power through
that's
this
bad.
round, he'll try and take one last swipe at you before completely disintegrating. And you're rewarded with coins and
victory's
that
done.
heavenly message.
Congratulations! The evil demon Scorn has been destroyed. He will never
Nice.
again threaten the 8 realms.
Maybe he won't,
Good
but
job.
somebody else might. The horrendous overlord of the underworld was just the opening act for the real final boss, Garm, who somehow survived and used Scorn's power to evolve into an even greater demon. Don't know if there's much I
Oh,
can say
boy.
about Scorn, other than he's awesome, he takes crap from no
Level
one,
92.
and the fact that he succeeded in what he set out to
Level
do
99.
and corrupted someone into becoming a bigger threat really speaks volumes.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oop, ad. We're back. On to number 3.
Let me tell you about this one game. It's
Go
an
on.
action-adventure game where you have a silent protagonist joined by a tiny companion character. The gameplay consists of combat,
not Legend of Zelda,
exploration,
is
and a
it?
fair bit of puzzle solving through an ancient fantasy world. That's right, we're talking about Okami?
Should have
Ami?
seen this one coming.
Again?
Since you play the goddess of the sun,
alright.
Amaterasu, it only figures that your enemy is the ruler of darkness, Yami. Before the fight
Yep,
begins,
a
Yami
giant
steals your
ball.
brush techniques and knocks Waka out of the arena. As you slowly chip away at Yami, you relearn your brush techniques to counteract his moves, repairing the damage he causes, putting out the fire, and redirecting
Mm-hmm.
lightning towards him. You even play slots with him. You seemingly finish Yami off, only for him to steal all your powers yet again, and
Again?
even destroy
Really?
the constellations they came from.
Oh.
Fortunately, Issen rallies the people of Nippon to cheer you back
Huh.
into the fight. Gee, never heard that one before. Though
Oh,
it is
there it goes.
justified since you're a god who lives off prayer and all that. Afterwards, you
yeah,
finally
makes sense.
finish him off with all of your techniques at your disposal. The only real reason that Yami's not
Just on
any
that how he's
higher
just a
is that the
giant
game
hand
doesn't
as
really
well.
do much in terms of
Like, look, there he
building
is,
up
a
to him.
hand.
Can't really give him any points for the more story-based criteria we have. You don't even know the guy exists until you're about 3/4 of the way through.
Yeah.
Raymond asks,
Yeah.
no, I will not replay Okami.
Not even if we made it a sub goal?
Ooh. How high's the goal, Josh?
40k subs?
40k subs? Yeah, we can do that. Wait, did he say 40k or 40-100k?
There are names that strike terror into the hearts of men.
Go for
Names that
both.
people fear to speak, even in the most hushed of whispers. Something as generic as Shadow Queen isn't exactly one of those awe-inspiring names.
Ah.
However, despite the not-so-flashy name, the
The
Shadow Queen is
Twilight
truly
Queen.
a demon to be reckoned with. 1,000 years ago, a great civilization was struck down in a single night. Darkness filled the
Completely
skies and the earth
destroyed.
roared and shook. When it was over, the civilization had been swallowed up by the earth. But what could cause such a catastrophe? No one really knew. What people
Yeah,
did
it's
know
just
was
gone.
that they had left behind some kind of great treasure. Thus, people gathered at the spot where the civilization had fallen, hoping to be one of the lucky ones to find the treasure and claim it for themselves. From this
Yep.
gathering of treasure hunters, the
And
town
that's
of
how it
Roguesport
began.
was born on top of the fallen nation's ruins. But as we would eventually discover, the treasure and the demon were one and the same. A rumor spread by one of the demon's minions to ensnare the greedy hearts of men. For the Shadow Queen had been sealed away behind a door, locked behind 7 crystal stars scattered across the world. By tempting
Yeah, you don't
treasure
wanna
hunters
collect
to
them.
find the 7 stars and bring
But
them
you have to
before the
collect them.
1,000-year door, this minion hoped to free her queen. But there was one final piece to the puzzle. The Shadow Queen required a vessel. Only a maiden of the purest heart would do. As it happened, just as the 1,000 years was up, just such a maiden appeared. One, Princess Peach.
From
With the
the
princess
Mushroom
in
Kingdom.
trouble, her loyal protector Mario gathered up the stars and broke the seal on the 1,000-year door. Now all this sounds like fairly standard demonic fare. What elevates the Shadow Queen to be the vaunted number 2 on this list?
I mean,
As she
Really?
is summoned
Just
from her slumber, the
presentation?
candles in the room flicker out, and the red flames are replaced with ominous purple ones. The
Ooh,
moment
the
the Shadow
black
Queen really
flames.
rises from her crypt, the world goes dark. Not the room, not the underground city, the whole world.
everything.
This is after 1,000 years trapped and still without a vessel. Oh yeah, she hasn't possessed Peach just yet.
Oh yeah, nope.
And she still exudes this
And here
feeling
we
of
go.
unfathomable power. And when she does possess the princess, the earth shakes and lightning cracks the sky around the
There it
world.
is. The
Of course, like
shaking
any
rolls.
good demon, the Shadow Queen tries to tempt Mario to her side. Naturally, he refuses, and the fight is on.
I mean,
It
you can
seems to
click
go
the other
up
option,
first.
but I don't think
Things seem
anything
to be on
happens.
track for another
Because of
victory
your
for Mario.
friends.
The Shadow Queen and Peach's body is being routed. But just when things seem hopeful, the Shadow Queen notes how she is not yet accustomed to Peach's body and releases her true self back into the world.
Oh boy.
Things go from okay to absolutely terrible, as in this state, the Shadow Queen cannot be hurt. Even Mario's
Yeah,
most
she's
powerful
invulnerable.
attacks simply bounce off of her. As if that wasn't enough bad news, if you manage to survive the onslaught for a few rounds, the Shadow Queen makes a snack of the audience and undoes all the damage you did to her while she was still in her vulnerable Peach state.
And there it goes.
Of course, the night is darkest just before the dawn. Just as all hope seems lost, the 7 crystal stars shine bright for Mario and scatter to the far corners of the world. They attract the hopes
yes.
and prayers of
They
all
gather
the
the
people Mario's
prayers.
met along his journey to gather them. The concentrated hopes and prayers of the people of the world flood the room.
If you see that green
weakening
text,
the Shadow
that's
Queen enough
Luigi.
for Princess Peach to momentarily break free and infuse Mario and his party with the last of her power. With health restored and the ability to once again do damage to the Shadow Queen, Mario jumps back into the fray. Even with
Let's
this buff,
do
this
this.
fight is no joke. The Shadow Queen is capable of dealing immense damage and loves to give herself attack and defense buffs to further complicate matters.
Yeah, there's
With a
that
good
as
game
well.
plan, some items, and good timing, Mario comes out on top, vanquishing the Shadow Queen once and for all.
And she's dead. Not captured, but straight up dead.
Chernobog, Kingdom Hearts. Really nice
Oh,
tribute
that's
to
cool. We're back.
Fantasia, but lacks a little oomph. For Mortis, Fire Emblem Sacred Stones, Dweller of
Ooh.
the Sacred Stone, who turned Lion to the
Oh.
dark side. If only this fight was harder. Exdeath, Final Fantasy V. Only way this tree could be more demonic is if it starts shouting diplomatic rights in our faces. Bale/Serial, Bloodstained. Great fights with really impious designs, but the lack of backstory makes them less interesting than they could have.
What
been.
is this?
Theratoth, Bomberman 64, the second attack. Better collect all the elemental stones because once this guy reaches full power, you've already lost.
Yeah, I can understand that, just from the way it looks. And here
In
we are,
every heart,
number
the
one
seed of dark
top
abides.
demon.
The makings of a lord when watered well. With hate, sweet hate, she springs eternal. Sings, all tempting draught.
Wait a minute.
Will drink of her again.
Why do I feel like I know what this is? Ah, it is.
The Demon King, Lord of Dark, a being that encompasses hate and sin. Odio is the overarching
Odio.
antagonist of Live Alive. Unlike most archvillains, Odio isn't a single entity. Each era within the game has an antagonist that
He is
encompasses
many.
some form of sin and disdain formed by humanity's faults. Whether it's Odio's bottomless wrath, Odio Bright's untamed envy, or OD10's intolerance for sloth and ignorance. They all
Yep.
fall under the Dark Lord's manifest. Odio is no master of hate. It is hate. That's what it
Well,
means in
that is
Spanish,
hatred?
after all, and is the root of the word
Ooh.
odious. But none of the forms
For
it
all
took
hate,
came even close
there
to the
is
absolute hellish
Odio.
threat that is the fallen knight Ursted. Crushed by the scorn of man and the loss of all that he held hope for, Ursted became the perfect vessel for Odio's grandest plan, to summon the heroes who slew its various incarnations and bring them their untimely demise. Also, it could wipe out
Still a
all
fun,
remaining
game.
hope of the world and destroy
Haven't
not
played it, but
just
still,
the
look at
entire
this. It's
world,
fun.
but also everything there ever was and will be. You start
Wow.
off the battle by
That's
facing
complete
off against
annihilation.
Odio's face. The eyes of Odio can attack you from far away and electrocute you, while the maw of Odio can attack multiple times between each ally's turn, dealing
Oh.
spread damage that can even cripple them. You definitely want to take out the maw
That ain't
first,
good.
preferably at a distant range, unless you have allies that can inflict recoil at close range.
Oh, that's
Additionally, you can skip phase 2 if you have Hong in your party and spam Pork Second Cooking to kill the Brow, since it does set damage and
Nice.
won't activate the counter. But that's assuming you don't kill the eyes and maw first in the process. Should you enter phase 2, you'll fight Odio's most frightening and toughest form, Purity of Odio. On top
Ooh.
of boasting a massive health pool, this form of
2,000.
Odio has attacks that can split your
That is
party
massive,
apart
but it
and
doesn't seem like
even
too
stun
massive.
them over an electric tile. It also has a really high dodge rate, so your attacks are more than likely to miss half the time.
Oh boy, look
As
at
if
that.
that's not cheap enough, therein comes its strongest attack, Saint Alethea, a gruesome shrill culminating from Ursted's own heartbreak.
Damn.
Despite a few luck-based elements, it's still a manageable fight that can be traversed should you deal with the right debuffs. If there's any occasion to use your best healing and stat boosting
I like
items,
this.
look no further. Once you get past all that, you finally defeated Odio and freed Ursted from its grip. At least you could have, but that would require you to slay Ursted where he stands and never get to go back home. No, it's definitely not that simple. You
Yeah,
gotta spare
it's not.
Ursted, in which he repays you by sending all the incarnations of Odio after you as a last resort. In the original Super
Yep.
Famicom title, this is pretty much where the fight ends, as your characters come out victorious against their old enemies, showing how far they've come since they've started. But in the
Pure
remake,
destruction.
we get something much more interesting.
Cool.
Ursted succumbs to hatred one last time, forming the Sin of Odio. And what
That's
do you know?
awesome.
It's a giant hand boss. Haven't had enough of that for a lifetime. This fight is a lot easier
And
than the
every
previous
lifetime.
phases, as Odio's attacks are much easier to telegraph. It helps that your targets are static, so there isn't much to worry about with positioning.
Then
Okay,
again,
that's
after
something.
how arduous the previous phases are, it's high time we have a simpler, but still very effective final stretch. It all culminates in Odio paralyzing
And
the
look at
first
that
group
thing,
of
though.
heroes, leading to the remaining ones giving it all to land every strike that it takes and save Ursted from Odio's grip. Eventually, the remaining heroes fall to Odio's attack, but
Oh,
after
boy.
all their effort and perseverance, Ursted finally breaks free, finishing
did it.
off what's left of the demon. Few demons
broke
came
free.
even close to how absolutely grandiose Odio is. Amazingly built up lore with intricate characterization and symbolism. A really fun
Incredible.
boss fight that's challenging, tricky, and atmospherically engaging. And all of that topped with a legendary payoff. It's incredible how well the
Nice.
remake not only accentuates the themes and weight of the battle with stronger visuals and grander music, but even gave us additions that made the fight that much more satisfying
That
and
does look like
worthwhile.
an amazing boss
28
fight.
years of legacy, and seeing gaming's greatest demon return in brand new colors is worth every second.
I'm
I
Josh
could see
Scorcher,
that.
and all this demon talk is making me feel dirty. Let's cleanse myself.
What's that, the Bible?
He ransoms me and keeps me safe from the battle waged against me.
Wait. Does that mean... Huh. Well, folks, looks like that's the end of this video. Looks like the next top 10 boss fight list should be the top 10 angel bosses. Or god bosses, depending on what he thinks. But anyway, folks, that is it for today's episode. I want you all to remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Down in the description will be a link to the original video, so remember to support the original creator and all he does. And I'll see all you folks next time. Peace out.